Hey, what's up, everyone? I figured I should do my intro a little bit better, just because, you're gonna be listening to me talk for a little bit, if you're interested in the stuff that I have to say. But yeah, this is part two of my four-part series. This part is gonna be about foodie culture and the glamorization of junk food. Um, I know that I contribute to that because it's fun, you know. You go out and you eat junk food and you eat all this like trendy, faddish food, and a lot of it's really good, you know. And props to the people who make good food. It's an art, and art should be appreciated. And in this case, it's food that you eat and they create, right? But I wanted to talk a little bit about it because this is something that affects me, and I think. These videos are helping people that are kind of like me. I'm not a nutrition expert. I'm not a doctor or anything like that. So I don't know what works for everybody, but I know what worked for me. And I think I'm a pretty average person. So I think that a lot of people could probably benefit from the things that worked for me if they implement it in their own lives in terms of nutrition and fat loss. So yeah, foodie culture, glamorization of junk food. If you've been on social media for even for a minute, you'll see like lots of pictures, and they use all these great filters and make food look really really delicious and appetizing. It actually looks better in the picture or the commercial than it does in real life. You look at a picture of something, it's like, wow, that looks delicious, it looks amazing, and you look at it in real life, it's like, oh, that's it, that's just this burger or this pizza or this whatever, this dessert. But yeah, but that's part of social media now, like the foodie culture, that's foodie stuff. That's like, it's good. The only problem with that is that most of the stuff that's part of foodie culture is unhealthy, high calorie, caloric dense junk food. That's the kind of stuff that's glamorized. That's food porn or whatever they call it, right? So that's and it makes you hungry when you look at stuff like that, and you want to eat whatever it is that they're showing you on that photo, right? And so I wanted to talk a little bit about this. Not so much condemning foodie culture, because I'm kind of a foodie myself, and I like enjoying trendy stuff, even faddish stuff. I like like the pizza where they have, it's like a fireball and the fire melts away the outer crust of the pizza and you have the pizza thing. I mean, I don't know if they have that here. They had it in Korea, and I thought that was pretty cool, even though it's very faddish and stuff. But I don't want to condemn foodie culture, because it is an art, and somebody took the time to create something new that didn't exist before, and that's a creative process, and that should be enjoyed, and that should be celebrated, because it's someone's art. Somebody took the time to make this up out of, it didn't exist before, and they created it, and that's cool. And that's what I do like about the foodie culture, is that it's an expression of an art form, right? So with that in mind, I wrote down a couple of things about foodie culture. There's a couple of things that I want to talk about foodie culture and how when it goes to the extreme, it can be kind of a bad thing. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about foodie culture and some of, how you can enjoy and be a part of foodie culture without overeating on calories and, getting really fat or, really unhealthy, just for being part of foodie culture. So the first solution that I have is, if you're going to go to a place that's going to be like like a food crawl or something like that, bring people with you. It's always more fun to do those kinds of things. That's kind of a social, like going to a food crawl, going to a night market or something. Those are social events anyway. So, I mean, generally speaking, you don't go to those things by yourself. You want to bring at least one or two other people. Try to go with like 4 or 5 people. And I'm sure people will be interested to come with you, as long as you're a pleasant person, right? Go to like a night market or something like that, where they have all this like street food and vendors, and they have, they're testing out new products and stuff like that. Go to those places with a bunch of people. And the reason why you want to go with a bunch of people is because you can try everything and you don't have to overeat calories, because you just share everything. You just buy one, and then everybody shares. Everybody has a piece or a bite or whatever. And then, you're not consuming, even if it is high calorically dense food, you're only having like a little taste of it, and then you're having a little taste of all these other things. So it will be more calories than you generally eat, like if you're food prepping or meal prepping and you're eating mostly vegetables and lean meats and stuff like that, of course it's going to be more calorically dense than that, even if you're only having little pieces of it. But those little pieces, they add up and they become pretty high calories. So this strategy is not saying that you can eat healthy at those places while you're doing a food crawl. You're not going to consume a bunch of calories. You are going to consume a lot of calories. You're just going to have to face the fact that when you go to those places, that's what you're going to do. You're going to consume more calories than you normally eat. But at least if you're sharing it amongst 5 or 6 different people, you're not eating as much as you could be eating at one of those places. You could be eating an enormous amount of calories and you'll feel like crap at the end of the day. You won't even get to try everything because you'll be so full from eating at 3 places, and they have those big carne asada fries with the what is it, the hot Cheetos cheese balls and stuff. Like, you're gonna eat one of those and you're gonna be full, and then you can't try anything else at the fair, or you're gonna force feed yourself and you're gonna feel like crap, or you're gonna throw up or something like that. That's no fun, right? So one of the other strategies that I would recommend for like when you're going out to eat at a foodie event, night market or street food vendors or some kind of restaurant, the first is to share food. The second would be to, like, if you don't have a lot of people to share food with, or if maybe you got something and not everybody wants to try it, but you want to try it, right? I would say just eat enough that you're satisfied, and enough that you enjoyed the meal, you enjoyed the experience of the meal, and then throw the rest of it away, or give it away, give it to somebody who wants it. If somebody will take it, if nobody will take it, just throw it away. And I think this is something that's like programmed into our brain, not to waste food. Don't throw away food. You never ever waste food. And I know, like my parents used to tell me, don't ever waste food. Food is so precious. We never had food when we were growing up. And they would give you this guilt trip, like, oh, so I got to finish all my food. But we don't live in those kinds of times anymore. I mean, we live in a very prosperous, if you live in the West, live in a very prosperous nation. It's almost impossible to starve to death in America. You can find food, right? So we don't live in times like that anymore, where it's like we don't know if we're gonna eat tomorrow. We don't know if we're gonna eat next week or something like that. We don't have to have that mentality where we can't ever throw food away. We can throw food away, and it's okay to do that. If you bought something like a junk, let's say you got an In-N-Out burger or a California burrito or something like that, right? And you ate enough of it to get the experience of eating that food. It's like, oh great, and now I'm full. Don't try to force feed yourself just so that you should finish it. Just toss the rest of it. Or, cut it in half, bring it home. Maybe somebody at home wants it or something like that. Like, if you really, really cannot throw food away, then, just share it. Give it to somebody else. Give it to a homeless person on the street or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just, don't try to force yourself to finish a meal if you've already eaten enough of it where you feel okay or you feel full, just because you have to finish it, or just because you don't want to waste food. I think, in my opinion, I don't think that's really wasting food. I mean, you're throwing it away, but it's your food. You can do whatever you want with it. You paid for it. It's your money. Like, if you ate 1/4 of it and you threw 3/4 of it away, big deal, So what? That's the only size that they had. If they had a smaller version, you would have ordered the smaller version, right? But I mean, like, they don't have smaller versions of Big Macs. They don't have smaller versions of California burgers. That's the size that they give you, right? So now we're going to get into a little bit of the extreme of foodie culture. And kind of, I think, is a little bit, not unhealthy. It's unhealthy because it puts you in an unhealthy, relationship with food. But it's also unhealthy mentally to think of, to glamorize foodie culture so much. I know a lot of people who have said that, they ask me, it's like, oh, you're eating, they feel sorry for me because I eat vegetables and fruits, healthy food. And they're like, oh man, don't you wish you could eat like cake and cookies? I mean, you're not really enjoying your life because, you're eating vegetables, you're eating stuff that you don't want to eat, and you're foregoing all this stuff that you could be eating, which tastes better and all that stuff. And there's a lot of very there's a lot of misunderstandings and some underlying things that people are saying when they say stuff like that, and I want to kind of address a little bit of those things. It's like, firstly, I'm not suffering by eating vegetables. I actually feel better when I eat vegetables, and I get to eat to satiety when I eat a lot of vegetables, which is important to me. I don't like feeling hungry, so I eat a lot of vegetables because I can eat a bunch of them and I won't have a lot of calories. Part of that, the underlying connotation that you have to be eating junk food and this glamorous food and all this stuff is, I think a lot of people just assume, or they might assume, that if you don't eat this foodie culture stuff, that your life is miserable, that there's no meaning left in your life, that this is like, basically they equate it, if you don't eat this kind of food, you are not happy. Essentially, it's like they equate the two. It's like, oh, you can't possibly be enjoying your life if you're not eating this junk food, right? And I think there's that's kind of wrong. And it's like, there's no, I mean, yes, food is great, it's delicious, it enhances your life and it brings joy, but it's not the end all be all. That's not the only thing that I enjoy about life. If it is, I mean, some people, they might say that, and I think that's kind of sad. I think that's kind of sad. If food is the only thing that you can think of, and that's the only thing that you enjoy about life, like you hate every other aspect of life except for food, man, I think you need to start loving life a little bit more. Like, there's a lot more things out there that is, I would say, even better than food, like relationships with your friends, like just going out on a hike and seeing a beautiful scenery and sunset. Like, I enjoy those things a lot, and maybe equivalent to food, maybe even more than food. Listening to great music. There's like watching a good sports game with good company, having a drink, like these things. I mean, even though drinking is part of like the foodie culture now too, it's like beer culture, but like there's so many things to enjoy in life. Food is not the end all be all. And so that's just basically all I wanted to say about foodie culture and glamorization of junk food, is that, you can, if you're going to go to a foodie event, go with multiple people, go with a lot of people, share your food. If you're eating junk food, and don't force feed yourself, throw the rest of it away if you can't eat it, or if you've got the experience that you wanted from it, just give it away or throw it away, do whatever you need to do, but don't force feed yourself, right? And then and then don't let food become the only reason that you like love other things about life other than food. Food is great. It's one part of the things that brings joy and happiness to someone's life, but it's not the only thing that brings happiness. It shouldn't be the only thing. If it is, then look for other things, because there's more to enjoy. There's more to enjoy in life than just food. So yeah, that's it. See you guys.